Welcome, everyone. Today, our panel session will talk about social impact, people at the heart of sustainability.
Test, 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 test,
Good afternoon,
test,
distinguished guests,
test.
colleagues, and partners. Al- خلي يشغلوه. You today to today's panel discussion, social impact, people at the heart of sustainability. When we speak about sustainability today, we're no longer speaking about environmental targets or compliance to frameworks. At its core, sustainability is about people, communities, individuals, and the system that enable them to thrive over long term. And this is where the concept of social investment becomes critical. Today, social investment is no longer viewed simply as philanthropy or simply sponsorship. It's beyond that. It has evolved into more strategic and sustainable approach focused on creating long-term value for communities through partnership and empowerment and measurable impact. At its core, social investment is about placing people at the heart of sustainability, understanding community needs, creating opportunities, and improving quality of life and contributing to resilient and inclusive societies. It's increasingly aligned with national development priorities, ESG commitments, and broader vision of sustainable growth. At OQ Group, this commitment is reflected through a wide range of initiatives designed to create meaningful and lasting impact. In 2025, the group contribution in social investment towered over 12 million Omani riyals as a group, supporting more than 256 initiatives and projects across the Sultanate and impacting over 24,000 people across Oman. These initiatives were focused on key pillars, including education, health, economic prosperity, and environment and youth and citizenship, reflecting OQ's commitment to building sustainable impact that respond to both community needs and national priorities. It's my pleasure to introduce our distinguished panelists who bring diverse range of perspectives across the industry in community engagement and social investment. First of all, we have Leila Shahri, Head of Corporate Identity and Communication at OQBI. She brings an extensive experience in crisis communication and corporate social responsibility and external relations. Additionally, we have Hilal Saadi, Team Lead for Events Management and Social Investment at OQGN, bringing over 9 years of experience in social investment and community engagement. Also, we have Hilal Omar Al-Abri, Head of Corporate Affairs at OQRBI, with strong track record of managing more than 50 social investment initiatives and programs across Oman. And to set the foundation for today's discussion, I would like to start with you, Leila. My first question, from your perspective, what does social investment mean today, and how has its role evolved within organization?
Test. Okay, my heard. Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. I'm very proud to be among experts and people who've been in this field for around the same time that I have, longer than I have, and we always learn from each other. I'm looking forward to hearing what my panelists next to me have to say. To go straight into the question, I have some notes here. The only reason I have that is not to get off topic, because this is a topic that excites me tremendously, and I can go on and on forever about it. And I'm very passionate about CSR, about seeing how much we are actually evolving. I remember when we first started around 13, 14 years ago, when I first started being more exposed to CSR, how philanthropic the projects were, and it was very reactive rather than being proactive. We would just get a request from any, and all causes were worthy. I'm not saying that they weren't, but they were based on perspective, certain perspectives and subjective views. Now, looking at how much we've evolved and what has changed in the field is there's more reporting, there's more compliance that we have to keep in mind, and that is great to see. There are more regulatory systems, despite there still being gaps, but I see a very promising direction that we're moving in as a country. And to not forget what so yeah, we're basically moving from philanthropy to strategic infrastructure. And we look at ourselves, for example, at OQBI, and I'm sure this applies to the other companies. We see ourselves as strategic partners, people who are on the table discussing what initiatives need to be brought into to play, into the scene, what is how we can add our input as a company, as a not just a funder, but also a decision maker. And it should boil down to investments that really build national capability, creating the actual shared value, and something that lasts or outlasts any single reporting or funding cycle. We're beyond that now, where we're following up with projects that can last up to 10 years even. We've seen examples of that today. So it's not just about a project that will take one funding cycle, but has lasting impact and shared value. And I don't want to, I mean, I can go on and on again. I think I answered the question. I hope I did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You touched on something very important, which is the move from being reactive to
Proactive,
becoming more
yeah.
proactive.
Yeah.
And this brings me to my next question to you, Omar. And what do you think is what's driving this shift towards more strategic and people-centered social investment, and how it's changing the way organizations make decisions and operate?
Okay, Hashim, thank you very much. I think by now we have already established a number of social projects around all Oman. I'm talking about OQ as a group. So the first driver is reputation. Reputation is already established, I believe. I strongly believe that we have a very good reputation in Oman. The next step is we need to move from a reputational-driven organization to impact-driven organization. And by doing that, we need to think more of governance, stakeholder engagement in a more strategic way. We're not talking about the number of projects that we're doing. We're talking about the impact that we leave on our community. This is very important, and it has to be measured, by the way. Our stakeholders now, they have big expectations about our projects. It's not about the number of projects we do, although they come and ask for more projects to do, but that's not enough. They want to see the impact happening, and that is very important. So we need to start activating more than just doing projects. We need to have governance. We need to have reporting like ESG. We need to have other reports like SASB reporting. All of these reports give validity and legitimacy and license to operate in the community where we work at. So briefly, if we want to have a more impactful, so we need to move from a project-driven organization to an impact-driven organization by activating KPIs, monitoring, and other reporting as well. That's it.
Thank you. I think if you could share a real example where a project
Yes.
or something that you worked on
Yes.
contributed to lasting
I
impact.
think one of the examples that you have just seen the report. It's me, right? Okay. Okay. So one of the examples is the OQ Science and Innovation Centers. Now these projects have started in 2015 in Liwa, and then there was another one in Buraymi, and there's a third one in Al-Dhahra, which is coming by, inshallah. There's a big one in Musandam, which will be, I don't want to talk about that. It's not my, but inshallah, we're going to see it. Now, these are projects. Now, what is the impact? The impact is SROI, social return of investment. We need to do this so that we can assess the impact on community. How we assess the impact on community? By measuring the monetary value of this project. Now, for each ₦1 that we invested in community, how much it's worthy when we measure it? we found out that for the project of science and innovation, each 1 real invested equals to 8 reals, which means it's a very effective and successful project. So 1 to 8 real. This is very successful one. We have got another example, the OQ centers in in North Al-Batna. We have found the social return of investment value, 1 real equals 6 reals, which is again one of the successful. So by measuring the impact, you can evaluate the projects that we're doing rather than just doing projects based on our stakeholders' engagement. Thank you.
Yeah, you touched on something very important, which is measuring the impact. And in itself, this allows in knowing what kind of projects that we could replicate and fine-tune in order to maximize the benefits of these projects.
True.
This brings me to the next question, Hilal. How do organizations move from assumptions to truly understanding and prioritizing the real needs of the community?
Thank you so much for hosting me. Actually, you smashed me between two CSR icons.
You're good. You're good. You're good.
Anyway, I think any organization can goes beyond the assumption by, like Umar said, by adopting an effective engagement, and rather than relying on perspective or assumption. And you mentioned something, the right terminology in your question is prioritize. I think we need to move, or already we move from what does community need to what's the prioritize of the community. And this it could happen through an effective sessions, engagement session. It could happen by a survey. It could happen by a feedback, rather than one consultation. What we are really proud of in OQGN, we conducted a social impact assessment. You know, our pipeline is crossing all over Oman except in Sandam, and managing these community is not easy. So we conducted a social impact assessment for 2 years. That's the result of that social impact assessment. It makes our decision when it comes to CSR or CSI or social initiatives easy for us and for the community. My strong belief also goes to if the community, since they are part of the organization family, believe me, will end up with a sustainable, effective social project or initiative.
Thank you, Hilal. I think you touched on something very important here, which is building the relationship with the community. I think the more you engage with the community and understand what they really need, this way it becomes easier even for organizations to set the priorities and know what to prioritize. So my next question is for you, Omar. In your experience, what makes partnerships truly effective in turning sustainability ambitions into real community impact?
Yeah, talking about the stakeholders. Now there's a big difference between stakeholder nowadays and stakeholder 10 years back. Stakeholder 10 years back, they expect companies to give some projects and that's it. Now they have other expectations, which is really high. And in order to be convincing, you have to do your homework properly. The first thing you do is you need to have co-creation. Co-creation is not a matter of engaging with the community and that's it. It's not enough. Co-creation is asking the community to take part in decision making. This is very important. So when you decide on project selection, project planning, usually we do it internally, and then we go to our stakeholder partners like walis, like governors. We have this project, we want you to bless it, do it. This is not a good engagement, to me at least. The good engagement is to have that partner part of the decision making that you want to take in the community, because the impact that you want to see will be monitored by you and by the stakeholder as well. They are our partners and the promoters of your work as well. So it's not enough to engage with them, is to talk to them, have them, invite them for a MOU signing. That's not enough. they need to be part of the decision. That's what I strongly believe. And even from literature review, when you read more about the CSR, co-creation is very important terminology that we have to put in our consideration when we do partnership with our stakeholders. So in order to have a community blessing, they have to take part of your planning and implementation of the project. Ashok, thank you.
This brings me to my next question to you, Leila. What does long-term impact look like in your context, and how do you move beyond short-term outputs to sustainable change?
Yeah, I'll tie into what Omar was also saying. And long term, in order for it to be long term and really impactful, that meaningful engagement and the co-creation of projects is key. There's always perspective, and there can always be subjective views on certain problems and how to solve them. But sitting at the same table and having that discussion between the people who are implementing and the bodies that are funding and that are part of it, and who have the experience as well. They've seen so many social investment projects. So that's the most important thing, like how we can make that shift. But also for OKBI, we look at, of course, long-term, like as a company operating in the industry that we're in, it means a decarbonization roadmap with, of course, a set 2030 and 2050 targets. But for social initiatives, it means a lot more to the people in our field, and that's building a community capability, like really knowing and understanding where the main issues are in the community and how these gaps could be bridged. And Omar tapped into SROI, social return on investment. We have also, I don't know if you've tried that, Omar, but we've done a pre-SROI of some projects. Before we even implement the project, we look at it and we analyze it as if it's already a SROI. So that helps us with the decision making before going to any project. And then it can help us also measure exactly the impact from a social perspective and a financial perspective long term. And then we can make that decision. We can go to the implementer and we can have that final discussion and put the last points on the plan, and then we can implement it with full confidence, knowing what we're going to achieve. And I just want to say one more thing, is the trap that most organizations fall into is focusing on the output, not the outcome of any project. So in order to avoid that, what it means is, for example, what an organization, when we fund, how many training courses or how many training workshops we've provided the community, rather than how many participants in these workshops actually found jobs. That's where the focus should be. Like, what is the outcome at the end of the day? It's not just about the workshop or the training, but what will happen after. How can we really equip participants and beneficiaries of these projects long term? That's, I can go on, but
Yeah, you highlighted
stop right
something
now.
very important here, which is doing the pre-SROI and trying to highlight and see or forecast the outcome of the project. If you could share maybe an experience here, that would be good.
Well, a project that we just signed a memorandum of cooperation with the Wilayat Rakhyut. Last week, we had an event, and that signing ceremony was very close and dear to our hearts, because I remember just a year ago, we were thinking about this project, which is called Ain Rob. It's developing a very beautiful area in Rakhyut, which is remote, but then this would mean more accessibility to this very tourist location and attraction, and developing it in a way that will have a very strong return on investment. And for every rial spent in this project, we have measured around 6 rials, I believe, as the return on investment. So that's one example of a pre-SROI that we did. Of course, that won't be the exact number. We'll have to do a SROI after the project takes place and is operational for an entire year. And then we can have a proper SROI for the Ain Rob. So keep your eyes on the news and follow what's happening in Rakhyut. Very exciting time.
Yeah, as you said, I think it gives a bit of an ease for the for the decision makers to make the decision, knowing that it's backed by numbers, and you could tell how much the outcome would be in the future. And this brings me to you, Hilal. From your perspective, what makes CSR initiatives truly successful?
Okay, good question. I think, and also my colleagues will agree with me, it's not about the amount you invest. It's about the impact you're gonna make in the project. So one time I was visiting my friend in Athens, and he works in waste management company, one of the biggest company in Europe. And I asked him to take me to one of their CSR projects. And he took me to a park. At that park, what they did, they only paint the fountain. There's a fountain, and they paint it. I asked myself, come on, is this CSR project? After that, I realized this paint is not about money. It's about the impact. After painting the fountain, a lot of tourism came to the park. A lot of food trucks opened beside the fountain. So see, it's not about the money. Also, we have a clear vision, Oman 2040, and we have an OIA governance, also OQ term of reference. I think if we follow all these, we're gonna end up with a successful initiatives. And one successful factor, I believe, is sustainable. The sustainable initiatives or the success initiatives are the ones who continue impact the community after ending the initiative. And we have a great example in OQGN Tasa'ad program. I think you heard about it. It's not about SMEs giving SMEs 5 days course. It's an opportunity for SMEs to engage with the biggest company in different fields and signing immediate contract, finding opportunity in that company and signing contract and signing contract. Also, yesterday we signed MOU with Sharaka. Sharaka is gonna be responsible to develop coaching and mentoring some SMEs, selected SMEs, for 6 months. Sharaka is gonna equip these SMEs with the proper knowledge that makes them compete for the biggest standard. Tasa'ad, alhamdulillah, we won 2 awards, one within OQ and one outside the organization.
Perfect. Yes. So this brings me to my last question, and it's for all the panelists. Looking ahead, how do you see social investment evolving over the next years? And what will distinguish organizations that create real impact from those that don't?
Over how many years in future?
Let's say 5 to 10 years.
I hope I will stay till that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can start with you.
Like, okay. I think there are two things that we need really to consider for improvement in future. What is it called? We need to recognize CSR rather than CSI. What we're doing now, when we do projects, this is all CSI, corporate social investment. The corporate social investment is what we do of projects to the community, and that's not CSR. This is only partial part of the CSR. Environment, they do contributions to the community. People or human resources, they do well-being initiatives to the community. The companies, they do have a lot of efforts here. That is all. The total effort is called CSR efforts. It's not recognized with the community. They don't know about it. Only as companies we know about it. So we need a more polished way to promote CSR initiatives of the whole companies rather than CSI initiatives. That is one thing. The other thing, we need a senior body that oversee the implementation, planning, and even impacting the community. Why? Because our stakeholder is one. I mean, we have got over 30 companies in Sohar, as an example. They all do CSR. But do you know what is happening with the other companies? We don't know. Although the stakeholder, the target is one, it's our stakeholders. So if there is a way to organize the whole job in a very structured way so that the end user, which is the community, will benefit a lot. I mean, now we have the governor office as an example. Why can't we have the governor office controlling all the CSI initiatives so that we know exactly what the real community needs? Now, we might have duplicacy and it's a loss of monetary value. So I might do the same project like another company is doing. What is the use of that? It's not the right way of doing it. So probably to avoid duplicacy, we might have a body that can oversee all the projects in North Al Batna as an example. And then the impact and the result will be more fruitful to the community rather than doing solo organization-based projects. That's how I see it from my side. In 10 years.
What about you, Leila?
Well, I totally agree with what Omar said, and having that one single body. And of course, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of different opinions about what single body are we looking at. Is it the governor of a given governorate, or is it like a more wider, like we have the energy, I wrote it down. Thank you, Dalal. The Energy Sector Social Investments Foundation, مؤسسة تنموية, who it sounds very promising, although they're still at the very beginning of their operations. However, I believe that they're looking into a framework where there can be a pool funding for a number of organizations, and they're going through a pilot project, and we're very interested to see how this is going to turn out, because that's the only direction we can go in. No single organization could solve any community problem, any given problem. There has to be a pool of organizations. There has to be co-funding in order to really have that long-term impact that we're sure that will take place. Another point, just one that maybe you didn't mention or that you kind of mentioned subliminally between the lines, is the data and verification. So separating real from performative and staying away from what us as organizations are greedy about is the branding aspect. So it's more about the performance rather than the real impact and the meaning behind a project that needs to actually make a difference. So when there's some focus or too much focus on the performative side of things, perhaps it might steer away from the actual need that we need to focus on, and leaving it to the experts who are aware where the country needs to be going. So it's having that pool of experts and pool of funds to is where we need to be heading. Inshallah, within the next 2 years, not even 5 to 10 years, we can see a big change in this area.
Inshallah. And Hilal?
I agree what my colleagues mentioned. In additional, I believe we are living in a fast-moving technological world, and our organization equipped itself with the latest technology. But what about the community? So I strongly recommend any organization should embed any project or any initiative, a technological part that equip the community with the latest change.
Yeah, thank you all for sharing your insightful perspective. I think we see how the social investment and CSR as a whole shifted during the last year, and seeing how it will shift within the next year. It's very promising field, and we look forward to see the real impact of it on the local communities. So thank you all for joining us. Now we'll open the floor for any questions.
No, I will ask you. So, Saad Al-Manali from OQBI, and this means Laida Zubair to answer this question. So no need, you are safe. My question, based on your experience, and you went through a lot of lesson learned and the CSR project and so on. I mean, how this lesson learned shape your strategy and change the way of doing things? And if you have real example of that, please, Omar and Hilal.
I don't know exactly, but really, I mean, I've been working in CSR for over 15 years so far. The mentality of the stakeholders have changed, so they put higher expectations, and you can never meet that expectations. So what is the right way to do? Again, you have to measure the impact. So you need to have a strong governance of your planning and implementation of your projects. That is one thing. And thanks to OKIO, seriously, we do have the framework and we do have the strategy of CSR. We do have the SROI, we do have the KPIs. So we have all the tools that can guarantee we are proceeding flawlessly. The other thing is the co-creation, as I just mentioned. We need to engage, not one time actually. It's not about just talking to people one time. We need to have a consistent, continuous engagement with our stakeholders so that they know exactly what we're doing. Any gap that can happen will disorient their interest about you. So my answer briefly, we need to have a governance system to impose the impact, and at the same time, we need to have a co-creational procedures that we have to implement with our stakeholders. And I think the whole team have started realizing this, alhamdulillah. And the result is what you have seen also of the KPIs that reach even to the top government bodies rather than OKIO itself, alhamdulillah. I hope I answered your questions.
For me, we are dealing with a mature community now. It's a real fact. It's mature. So involving the community with the organization is the best and the success factor to achieve what's your initiative. Our strategy now in OQGN that align with OQ strategy, and we adopted that the initiatives that have a big impact for the community, we have no hesitation to adopt it.
Can I add one thing also? You do know that each government has got their own strategic development plan as well in the government itself. Now, what we're doing now in North Al-Bab, we have a copy of that strategy because it contains a lot of projects as well. And we do some projects as well. So there is a kind of synergy with the governor office plus the municipalities so that we can know exactly what is the plan of the governor. And again, we reflect that in our company so that we avoid redundancy and recurrence of the same project. And we have already implemented this, by the way, and it's very effective, by the way. Yes.
I think you noticed the difference between the terminology. I mentioned initiatives, he mentioned a project. So there's a difference in the budget. We have a huge budget.
Initiative is greater than project. Okay.
Any more questions?
Questions?
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إبراهيم الخصيبي من STS. You said you think that it will be better there is a government body or something to handle all these things. But as I know, there is a CSR portal with Opal to bring all the contractors and the clients, so they have one portal where everyone can request to support the community in their projects. So I don't know whether you are part of it or not.
I think Opal is doing contractor upliftment plan. It's not about CSR, and I don't think they do have a CSR plans as far. You're talking about Opal or? Okay. If you are talking about Opal, I don't think Opal is doing CSR. They are doing some other contributions. So recently done. Yeah, but it's not, maybe that can be a start also. But again, Opal, if they start that platform, and it should be also relevant to the CSR as well and supervising the CSR, it should be also legalized in a way. Is this the right body that can oversee the whole bunch of projects around Oman? Is it the right organization that can take care of this, or probably some other organization? That is something I cannot answer you, actually. It should go to the top levels.
I think we could take one more last question. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Dalal Darwish with Social Wire, Social Impact Assessments. I have a question about maybe alternative energy. I know none of you from OQAE are here, but maybe you can answer my question, because approaching people near an oil field is very different than approaching people near a wind farm or a solar farm. And when you're talking CapEx, OpEx, it's very different budgets comparison and very different human resources requirements. So what can someone say when approaching a small secluded community, and the interest of a wind farm is going to come close, and the question is asked, will there be employment? How can we see any kind of social investment or interest from OQAE? But of course, the community think it's all just OQ, right? So they're thinking you're gonna come, here's all the money is coming, and then they're disappointed because there aren't enough jobs in alternative energy. So please, just your thoughts on that.
Like you said it, Dalal, we're not experts in alternative energy. However, with our exposure, the community, we know how, or we get an idea of how difficult it is to engage and get the buy-in from any given community, especially when there is not enough awareness about the long-term benefits of a project. Environmental projects are not tangible. There won't be any immediate benefits seen to the eye for that generation or even the next generations. So it boils down, I believe, to a lot of engagement, bringing in the right influencers to engage with the community, the given community surrounding the project at hand, and helping or inviting them to be part of the design of it, even if they're not going to be a lot of jobs, but being on that table, that sense of ownership, how this is going to benefit the upcoming generations long term, and I'm sure there will be measurable impacts to the current impacts and benefits to the community, even at the time. Of course, with CSR projects, you have to give them something as well. And Omar could maybe give some examples on shorter term but impactful projects that would kind of pave the way to a better appreciation of the company.
Thank you, Leila. To me, I have another perspectives about that. We have to understand that CSI is not a magic wand that can make the dreams of any employee, any job seeker come true. That's not the right way. So when we talk about employment, it does not go with the CSR contributions. Employment is something else. Employment is another portfolio that can be handled by the people. We cannot handle this, actually. We can do employment in a project that we can do in the nearby, the vicinity area of the AE. But we cannot really guarantee good jobs for the company because that folder does not fall under CSR. We cannot do this. Why? Because we need to have a fair treatment to the applicant of the jobs, and with giving a little bit margin of priority to the nearby. There is a margin, and believe me, it's done everywhere. But we cannot guarantee that they have the freedom to have, because they feel disappointed, because they are affected by the operation. That is not going through the CSR portfolio. It goes through the manpower and employability. which is handled by the HR. It's not handled by CSR. That is how I see it.
I agree. It's a very good question and a deep one, and something that deserves a lot of contemplation. We're good. We're lucky that we're not in the alternative energy,
Yeah, we cannot do that.
but we can engage with our colleagues there and find out what they're doing currently.
Yeah, I think this brings us to the end of the panel discussion. So thank you once again to our panelists and to the audience for joining us in this and being part of this conversation. Please feel free to approach us if you have any further questions. And thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you. Well done.
لا لانه هو ملف التوظيف ما نقدر.
لا ما في التوظيف.
السلام عليكم، كيف حالك؟ اخبارك؟ صحتك؟ لا السلام عليكم، كيف حالك؟ اخباركم؟ كيف الصحة؟ كيف حالك؟ الحمد لله طيب. يا اهلا وسهلا.
المشكله ان
ما شاء الله.
عندنا في CSR